So the idea is that when we're thinking about new methods and new rules, um, we want to kind of like have our in our minds uh, what the syntax of every enumerable we learn is, what the return value of every enumerable, and when do we use this, right? Like the idea is that if you had a nail you needed to hang a painting with, you're not going to pick a screwdriver. You're going to pick a hammer because, like, you could theoretically nail a nail into the wall with a screwdriver. You're better off with a hammer. And so, in general, let's start with .each, right? And as we've seen what Katie showed us, the standard each syntax looks something like this: collection dot each do thing. There's some code here, and we have end. Right. What it's going to do is it goes through every single thing. And again, what does each return? What is the return value of each? Angel?
It returns the original array.
Yep, it returns the original array. So when we think about, like, so this is the syntax for .each. The return value for this enumerable is that it returns the original array or collection. And the best use case for each is when we're iterating over collection and there's not already something better. Or a case where, like, you don't know if there's an enumerable that is going to do the thing you're going to that's going to do the task you want it to do, right? And so the pattern that we have is that when we use each, we generally have this kind of collector variable, and we return that or print it out or do something to the end. So let me do this. I am going to copy and paste this so you don't have to watch me type. And we do a puts doubles or something like this. And like this pattern should look pretty familiar. Like you've done not maybe perhaps the exact same thing, but something close. Right here, what we're trying to do is that we have this array of numbers, and we just want the numbers, the double numbers. So instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Right, and so we have here the original collection. We have this aggregator collector variable, and we iterate over the original collection, and for every single item in that collection we're going to double it and then put it into this collector thing, and then we're going to go ahead and give that back. So when we know that the return value of each is going to be the original collection, if we were going to put this in a method, we would do something like this. We would do a def double numbers equals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Doubles equals that empty array, and then numbers dot each do number. And I think that it's a generally good habit when you're using each that the collection is the plural and the block variable is the singular. It helps me keep things straight in my head. And we're going to do doubles, and we're going to shovel in number times 2 and then we're going to, and if I do puts double, what am I going to get printed out to the screen? Tommy, what do you think?
You should get a array of numbers that's multiplied by 2.
You sure? Who agrees?
Actually, no. You want to put a S at the end there.
An S at the end at where?
The end of the puts. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. No, so it's not going to put anything out because you're not really calling it on an actual array.
Let's run it. Let's find out. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. Why are we getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Trevor S.
You didn't recall double at the end
Yeah.
after you used your each.
Right. We got to remember that when we are the return value of a method, because we put this in a method called double, the return value of a method is the last line of code run. And so this is considered one last line of code, and this is that each. So what did we say was the return value of each? Harrison.
Could you say that one more time? Sorry.
What is the return value of whatever we run of each?
It's always the original collection you put in.
Which is that numbers, which is why you get that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if we wanted this to return the doubles, what we'd have to do is we'd have to do a doubles down here, and now we get that 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Right. So the key point thing to remember is that even when we're putting this each inside a method, we still need that placeholder, that collector, to return the value we want. Again, the return value of a method will be the last line of code to run, and this, before we put this doubles here, this each is what the last thing was run is. This is also essentially the same thing as doing return doubles, but we generally omit the return because it's when doubles is just sitting there, it's kind of implied like, well, this is what I want back, right? And other potentially other things we could do is that we can also like save things to variable. But like the idea is that like this is a lot, right? And the idea is that like we kind of want to, in general, if we don't have to use a local variable, like let's not. And so we're now gonna talk about the first enumerable outside of each, and that one is map collect. They are you can use the two terms interchangeably. The reason why is that Ruby, in order to attract developers from other languages, in other languages, this idea is called collect, and so they wanted to make those people feel at home. I used to use collect, but I used to use map because it is 4 letters less of typing, and so, but you can use this interchangeably. And the difference between like map and each work very, very similarly together. They're very similar. The difference is that map actually returns what we do in the block, right? And this is different from what we want in the original array, from returning the original array. So if we were to do that, we have like, this is, a bunch of stuff here. And if I wanted to replace this with map, what I'm going to do is I'm going to comment this out. So this doesn't exist anymore. And I want to compare like how this would look like if I were to use map. So we have, I'm going to uncomment that because we're still going to use that. And this is going to be numbers.map do number multiplied by 2. And when I run this, it is going to give me that 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. What's happening here is that what map is doing is that it is creating a new array, the exact same size as the collection, the original collection. And for each slot in that new array, it's going to populate it with whatever the block returns for each item. So let me scroll this up. So we have this array of 5 things. Numbers.map is like, okay, so map is essentially Ruby's doing under the hood. I'm like, okay, so numbers is 5 things. All right, so what that means is that I'm going to create an empty array of 5 that holds 5 things. I'm going to go to the first one. First one, I have number times 2, that's 2. That 2, because that's what this block returns. This is the last thing inside in this block here, is going to take that first slot. Cool. I'm going to move on to the second one. The second one is 2. Excellent. So this 2 This 2 is now going to be multiplied by 2. That's 4. 4 goes in the second slot, and so on until it fills it all up. And then the return value of map is this new array that's created. Essentially, what it's doing is doing this, except without the need to create this local variable. It is doing that under the hood for you and just taking care of that mess, so you don't have to like go through the trouble of typing out this this aggregator variable and going through. It's called map collect because essentially you're mapping over this collection. And it's also, you can also think of it as called collect because you're essentially collecting all these return values every single time you run through and making a variable of that. Open it up for questions. Jake? Or was that your hand disappeared?
No, yeah. So with map, if you were to, at the end of the define, if at the end of like the double method, just under there, you would have print double again inside of there, would it have still saved it?
What do you mean?
So the original, or I'm sorry, if you were to, I said double when I meant numbers. If you were to put numbers at the end of that method.
Like this?
Yeah, but hit like print in front of it.
Like puts, you mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Uh-huh.
And then run it. Would it have changed the values that are stored
That's a good
in
question.
the variable numbers?
So first, you will see the numbers put out to the screen, but remember, what does puts return?
Just whatever's in there.
No. So the thing is that there's a difference between printing out to the screen and returning something. Puts will print something out to the screen, but it returns nil. Okay. This method will return nil, but again, let me kind of separate it. So I just want to clarify that what like puts returns nil, but it will print out to the screen. Mm-hmm. That's something like you got to remember. But to directly answer your question, map does not change the contents of the original collection. Numbers will still be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay, that was essentially my question. So yep. It is returning a new array, but it's not changing the original array.
It does not change the original array. Okay. Kind of the big picture is that there are not generally, not always, but in general, methods that will change the contents of the original collection have a bang at the end of them. However, I would say that in general, avoid doing so. We kind of want to avoid changing the original collection. We always want to hold on to the original collection until we need to get rid of it.
That was my question though. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. And so like something else you could do is that you could set doubles equals to this, and then doubles. And we run it, and you get the thing. Other questions about map? Cool. All right. All right, let's take 5 minutes. And what I'd like you to do is on your own, convert this to use map. Let me make this a little bigger for you. Nope, that is not bigger. That's the opposite bigger. It'll take 5 minutes, and at the end, I'll ask one of you to share your screen and walk through what you've done. So 10:42.
I'm sorry, Mike, my internet cut out for a second. What did you say? What you want us to do?
I'd like you to convert this to using map.
Okay.
And I've also posted the array in your Slack channel, so you don't have to you don't have to retype the names. 1 minute left. 1 minute left. All right. So while I was looking at Slack in your channel, I want to mention that like we generally put in the invite, the Zoom meeting links in the calendar, but on days where like we're having multiple sessions, we're gonna try to stick to like whoever started the first room, so y'all don't have to like change rooms all the time. We're gonna do our best to keep that so you just log in the one time and you're set. So generally the first link of the day is the one we're gonna use, and we'll let you know if that changes. So sorry about that confusion. Cool. So let's get Jordan, would you mind sharing with us what you got? Let me unshare mine.
All right. So I was messing around with putting this in a class. Anyway, this is what I got for right now here.
Okay.
So taking the brothers array initially, going through it with map and doing brother to each one of these. And then I was doing caps brothers in here. I couldn't get it to return what I wanted.
Yeah. So when we're talking, yep. So that's it right there. Which you got the brother up case. The idea is that we don't have to shovel into that collector, because when we are using map, we don't need that collector variable. Like whatever that block is returning is going to get put in there. And so like this exactly as you have it right there is what we want. Cool. Great. Fantastic. Thank you. All right. So it is 10:43. Let's take a 5-minute break. Let's take a 6-minute break. Let's be back at 10:50. We're going to go move on. At 10:50, we're going to recap, kind of like cover any questions about maps. So come up with your questions over the break, and we'll talk about more then.
Hey, Mike, why did you
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just curious, and why did you decide to go with that new keyboard of yours?
Occasionally got some wrist pain once in a while, and I think that like